So, hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AzBytes, the podcast where we break down the latest and greatest in Microsoft Azure for business leaders who like their tech straight talking and jargon light. I'm John, and with me as always, I'm joined by the one and only Ty.
Thanks, John, and it's great to be here as normal. And guess what? We have got an absolute stonking episode today for everyone. We're going to dive into SQLCon and FabCon 26. That's right, two conferences, but for the first time ever, they've been held together in Atlanta. This is the third annual FabCon, and guess what? The first ever SQLCon. So Microsoft have brought everything under one roof. And guess what? I think alone that tells its own story about the direction of travel we're going in.
Yeah, absolutely, it really does, Ty. And I guess for anybody not kind of steeped in the data world, it's worth pointing out that FabCon is all about obviously Microsoft Fabric, if the name didn't give it away, and Microsoft's, kind of that unified data platform, the analytics platform that we call Fabric. And then SQLCon, it's all about Microsoft SQL Server and database technology. So historically, there were people who would run the databases and do kind of conferencing on that side. And then the people who would build the analytics platforms, they kind of live in different ecosystems and they'd use different tooling and they probably go to different conferences. So by merging these two big events, Microsoft is basically saying that separation is over.
Absolutely. And guess what? Over 8,000 attendees and nearly 300 workshops and sessions. So it's massive. It's an enormous event. And for our listeners and viewers, then a couple of headline messages, especially in the keynote delivered by Aaron Ulag. So he's the corporate vice president of Azure Data. And that is that Microsoft is bringing together the power of databases and Fabric to form a truly converged data platform, one that unifies transactional, operational, and analytical data under one consistent architecture. So do you know what? In plain English, no more silos, and your business's databases, analytics, and AI data are going to be in all one ecosystem.
Yeah, and it's not really, a niche announcement, really. The momentum behind Fabric ties is absolutely staggering. So just 2.5 years after Microsoft Fabric reached that GA general availability, it's already got more than 31,000 customers, and it's the fastest growing data platform in Microsoft's history. So big names are already on board. Coca-Cola companies using Fabric to scale across their organization. And their VP of Global Marketing Technologies, Shikhar Gowda, said something along the lines of Microsoft Fabric is really helping evolve Coca-Cola's data foundation into that more unified AI-ready platform. And combining that with Power BI capabilities like Fabric IQ, it's going to enable the enterprise to turn their data into intelligence and act on it much, much faster time.
It certainly is. But you know what? On the database side, SQL Server 2025 is growing at more than twice the rate of any previous version. So both halves of the story, Fabric on the analytical side, SQL on the operational side, they're firing on all cylinders.
Amazing stuff, Ty. So I guess with that context set, let's get into some of the big announcements, right? So, Ty, first up, database hub in Microsoft Fabric. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that's a biggie, that one, John. Think of it as a single control plane for all your databases across cloud, on-premise, and edge environments. So that's Azure SQL, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure databases for PostgreSQL, etc., all enabled by Azure Arc and Fabric databases. So what does that mean? That they can now be explored, monitored, governed, optimized, all from one unified view. And guess what? It's available now in early access.
Oh, cool stuff. So I guess instead of, like you say, juggling all those different management consoles for the different database products, the team can now go to that central hub, right? So I guess for a CTO or any kind of data platform lead, that really should mean far less fragmentation, faster incident detection, and possibly simpler cross-service policy enforcements, Ty, right?
100%. And I've got something really cool for you. Right, the database hub introduces, as we all like and love, agent assist, which is a human in the loop approach to management. So built-in AI agents powered by Microsoft Copilot for continuous reasoning over signals across the entire database estate. Okay, so what does that mean? They can surface what's changed, explain why it matters, and guide your teams on what to do next. But this is the key. Microsoft stressed that these agents keep, keyword, humans firmly in control of all the goals, boundaries, and trust. So it's not robots like Skynet taking over the world. It's an AI sidekick like Batman and Robin helping you to work faster and more confident.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's reassuring to a lot of people listening to this podcast now, Ty. And and it's useful at the end of the day. So for business leaders, the benefit is that your IT team is now going to be able to spot and resolve performance issues or risks really proactively, rather than that traditional firefighting approach that, let's face it, when something breaks, the process isn't the best, right? So Microsoft has kind of stated, what its ambition is for the database estates to become that more proactive, resilient, and intelligent platform over time. So they're really laying the foundation for greater autonomy without losing all of that good human oversight, like you say, Ty.
Yeah, 100%. And do you know what? If there's any CFOs listening, you're going to love this. There's now a savings plan for databases that can cut costs potentially up to 35% compared to pay-as-you-go pricing, obviously on selected services. But that's obviously money back in your budget to use for innovation.
I mean, there's nothing like a good 35% saving to get a cheer from the CFO, right, Ty? Okay, let's move on. Next one then. So data unification. Let's look at that. So OneLake, from what I hear, got some serious upgrades, Ty. What can you
It
tell
did.
me?
So OneLake is Microsoft Unified Data Lake for people who don't know. And the idea being that all your data, wherever it lives, so cloud, on-premise, third-party platforms can be brought together in one logical data lake without unnecessary ETL fragmentation or duplicate copies. And that's basically the foundation of everything else. So at FabCon, they expanded the mirroring in Fabric, which replicates data continuously, big word there, into OneLake, to support even more data sources. So mirroring from Oracle and SAP. DataSphere is basically generally available. Let me have a think what else. With Azure monitors also coming soon, they've also introduced extended capabilities in mirroring, including change data feed and the ability to create views on top of mirrored data. And guess what? That's starting with Snowflake.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That Oracle and SAP mirroring going J is absolutely huge for enterprises. So think about how many large organizations run their operational backbone on those systems, Ty. Getting all that data into Fabric continuously without any kind of custom engineering, that would have taken months and a consulting engagement, only just a couple of years ago. Now, what you're saying, it's basically a configuration, right?
Absolutely. And that actually quite nicely leads me on to interoperability, and what a strong story we've got there too. So let's start with maybe Azure Databricks. You can now read directly into OneLake through the Unity catalog. And by the way, that's in public preview. Plus, we've got interop with Snowflake, including bidirectional Iceberg data access, and that's reached general availability. And do you know what? For organizations running multiple platforms, you no longer have to pick a winner or maintain separate copies of data in each area. So it's all coming together really nice and clean.
No, amazing. I hear there was some announcements on the security front as well, Ty.
There certainly is. OneLake security. Wow. Well, that's moving into general availability in the coming weeks if it's not already done so. So that means data owners can now define roles, enforce row and column level controls, manage permissions through single unified models that follow the data across every Fabric workload, which I think is immense. So think warehouses, reporting Excel files, agents, the whole shebang. And it's one rule set everywhere. So that's been one of the most requested enterprise features since Fabric were launched.
No, absolutely. And I guess for governance teams, Ty, that's going to be an absolute game changer. So no more maintaining those separate permission structures for every tool in the stack.
Exactly. And we've got shortcut transformations. They're now generally available, allowing data to be shaped automatically as it's connected and moves into OneLake. So that includes converting formats like Excel to data tables. And by the way, that's in preview. And it's all, guess what? AI powered transformation.
It's all good stuff. So I guess right then, Ty. So we've got data coming together all in that one place. It's secure. The next big theme that I think is making data meaningful to AI is exactly that. So Microsoft talked a lot about AI ready data, something called Microsoft IQ, Ty.
Yeah, so Microsoft's argument, and this is absolutely on point, is that to get a real competitive advantage in the AI era, it isn't which model you deploy. It's the intelligence and context that the AI agents understand on how your business actually runs. So the state of your business and your institutional knowledge. Okay, so Microsoft IQ is designed to be that intelligence layer. So unlike some of our competitive point solutions, it delivers shared intelligence grade business context to each and every agent. Okay, so what does that mean? It pulls context from three complementary sources, whether it's productivity signals from Work IQ, institutional knowledge from Foundry IQ, or live business data from Fabric IQ.
Okay, I think I get it. So what does that look like in practice, Ty?
Yeah, good question. So hopefully this example will bring it all to life. So without context, an AI agent might see inventory equals 12 units. Okay. With the semantic layer from Fabric IQ, it would understand that 12 units actually means the spring campaign is at risk. Replenishing lead times is 14 days, and there's three suppliers ranked for reliability. So that's fundamental, different kind of usefulness. It's helping you understand the difference between just raw data and actually genuine business insight and forethought.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good example, Ty. Instead of just thinking numbers from data, what you're saying is that the AI is going to understand the implications of what those numbers actually mean. So I guess for any business leader, that's going to mean AI can flag risks or opportunities in terms of things that you're going to actually care about.
Absolutely. So now what we're doing is enabling the kind of contextual understanding that really requires a little bit of new technology under the hood. So we've got Graphing Fabric, and Microsoft Graph's database capabilities moving into general availability if anybody's interested. And guess what? It offers a scale out architecture that supports graph query language. That's an interesting one for me to say, GQL, and letting teams visualize and query relationships between entities. So, what do I mean by entities? Well, customer, products, supply chain, and all that is part of the Fabric ontology. So, a structured map, you can think of it, of how the business works. And guess what? That's going GA on Graph Databases Foundation. Yeah, so it's brilliant.
No, absolutely. And I think it's important to know that those ontologies are the thing that gives AI a map of your business world, essentially. That's how I understand it. So, all the rules, what the relationships are between data, and those consequences. That's my understanding, Ty.
Absolutely. I mean, you're 100% spot on there. And those ontologies are now accessible via MCP server. And we've got another session already recorded on that if anybody's interested. But basically, that means AI agents are built on Microsoft Foundry with Copilot Studio or third-party tools can now query the business context in the same way that you perhaps call an API. So speaking to the MCP, Fabric Local MCP, by the way, that's generally available, or open source local server connecting to AI coding assistants like maybe GitHub Copilot directly to Fabric. So we're respecting existing RBAC boundaries, which is fantastic for security guys, but in effect, Fabric Remote MCP, which is a cloud secure cloud hosted execution engine is now available in public preview as well. So loads and loads of stuff happening around that.
I mean, there's certainly a lot coming out of these conferences, isn't there, Tan? I guess, the bit that everybody has been talking about, certainly from my last kind of few months worth of work, is AI agents. What news have you got, Ty?
Tons and tons of news on AI agents. So Fabric data agents, and this is a big one, real big one, is now generally available. Okay. And for anybody who's not sure what that is, describe it as a virtual assistant aligned to specific domain data to support deeper analysis and deliver insights. Okay, so what's that mean? They'll know your warehouse, your streaming data, your semantic models, your mirroring systems, and it'll work with you to drive value. So one of the headline use cases is building a conversational Q&A system with Gen AI. So you can speak in plain English, things like what product line has the highest growth last quarter in, I don't know, EMEA? And you get an instant answer, but a grounded answer, which is the most important thing.
I mean, that's good. It's the thing that we've been all promised, I guess. It's like having that data analyst on staff 24/7, but they just don't take coffee breaks, I guess, now.
Very true. And I love my coffee break. And yeah, and do you know what? And for the first time, Fabric Data Agents supports Git integration and deployment pipelines, meaning that they can be managed by as code rather than one-off configuration stuck in somebody's workspace. So do you know what? For developers and organizations, that's huge for rolling out governance. And it's worth noting you currently need a paid F2 or higher Fabric capacity, or Power BI premium capacity to use it. So that's another fantastic benefit as well. Now, the other thing is Microsoft has also announced operational agents. So you've got operational alongside the data agents, and that's broadening the scope of what an AI assistant can do across the whole Fabric environment.
Oh, it's great stuff, Ty. And another big one that I've heard now, not to flood this too much, but planning in Fabric IQ. Can you break that bit down for us, Ty?
Mate, there's too many of these, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is where it gets a little bit interesting for anybody in finance or strategy. All right. So planning in Fabric IQ is a new enterprise planning capability that lets organizations create plans, budgets, forecasts, and scenario modeling, which is really important. So it's directly on top of the Fabric semantic model. All right. So if you think historically, enterprises planning lived in specialized tools. It's always disconnected from the data platforms. You'd have to pull actuals out and load them into another tool and build different models and then ship it back. And it's just messy, convoluted, prone to errors. Well, this now means that accuracy is going to be on point. So what does that actually mean? In plain, simple, actual live data in the same place using the same security model. So it means that you can do everything. You've got you can do all your everything you possibly need to in Fabric with the only semantic layer covering everything from past, present, and future. Um, so what's happening, where it's happening, and do you know what? That's where it should be.
I mean, it's immense just listening to you, Ty. It sounds to me like it's doing all this. We know that budgeting and forecasting is potentially difficult from multiple sources, but it sounds like we're going to be able to do that, without all of those data gymnastics. I guess CFOs and FP&A teams are going to absolutely love this, right?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, if you think about it, powering most of this is Power BI semantic models technology, which delivers insight into more than 35 million active users. So when we combine that with things like data lake, semantic modeling, historical data, we've just cleaned up everything to get real-time analytical performance without the need to import and export and duplicate data.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff. And Ty, I'll jump on you now with one or two things. So I even read there was more on the Power BI front, and we're looking at that translytical task flows. That's another one tongue twister. That entered general availability as well, from what I saw, Ty. It's going to allow users to act directly from reports. So we can trigger workflows, we can resolve any data issues, and it's really going to avoid that need to submit separate requests to get things sorted out by your admin teams. You know, it's going to be a meaningful shift from looking at dashboards to actually doing something about what that dashboard is showing, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. And on a more technical side, Runtime 2.0 is now in preview. So purpose-built for large-scale data computation. It incorporates Apache Spark 4x, Delta Lake 4x, Scalar 2.13, so on and so forth. And materialized lake views are now generally available. All right, that's a big one. So simplifying medallion architecture implementations, which is massive. And guess what? Maps in Fabric have reached GA, adding geospatial context and interactive real-time visual insights for your data estate. Amazing.
It's still coming. Microsoft has also announced, Ty, there's more tools now to make any migrations easier. So there's new migration assistance for Azure Data Factory as well, Azure Synapse Analytics, and of course Azure SQL, and they're all coming in public preview. So if you're on those services, there's now a clearer on ramp to move them into Fabric.
Yeah, and John, there's also two open source projects that can help teams move faster as well. Agent Skills for Fabric, which is a set of purpose-built plugins for using natural language in GitHub Copilot, Terminal, and Harness Fabric to harness Fabric, and Fabric Jumpstart, which helps teams get, guess what, started quickly.
Well, I'm taking a breather for a minute, Ty. I guess, look, should we take a little bit of a step back here? We've covered absolute immense amount of stuff here. So we got Database Hub, we covered OneLake, Fabric IQ, Microsoft IQ, what AI agents, planning, Power BI, migration tools. Look, let's frame this for business leaders listening. So why is this all going to matter, Ty?
Yeah, so why don't we do this? Let's boil it down to five things.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
John, shoot with it. Number one, please.
Okay, so from my point of view, number one would be less data silo headache, so that vision of a unified platform is going to mean fewer disjointed systems, hopefully less duplicated data, and fewer expensive integration projects. So looking at what OneLake's approach is of virtually centralizing data where it already lives, essentially, is going to save real time and money, Ty. That's my number one. What's next?
Cool. Number two, then, let's go for faster insights. So when your databases and analytical tools talk absolute seamlessly, your AI agents can basically query across them in near real time. So what does that mean? Pressing business questions can be answered in minutes, seconds, or even quicker, rather than waiting for days and days for reports. All right. So on that one, number three, John.
Yeah, number three, look, this is the thing that we're talking about with a lot of customers, but it's genuine AI readiness. This isn't about bolting AI onto some messy data estate. Microsoft's framework, is going to unify, process, curate semantic mealing, and empower agents to act. So it's going to give organizations really that structured path to make AI actually useful and not just this flashy buzzword time.
100%, which is great, I think. So number four, all right, stronger governance and security. All right, let's talk around that for a second. So OneLake security is unified permission models, means you can define once and apply it everywhere. So for regulated industries or any data sensitive businesses, A, it reduces risk. Two, simplifies compliance. Amazing. So let's go with the last one then, John. Number 5.
Yeah, look, last one then, number 5, cost efficiencies, Ty. You mentioned them earlier, but that 35% saving plan for databases is a great one. You're going to get reduced data duplication, therefore lower costs, simplified ETL, and you've got all those migration tools. They're all pointing towards a more cost-effective data estate, Ty. So it's all really compelling stuff, and the momentum speaks for itself. Like we said, 31,000 customers in 2.5 years, Ty, the fastest growing platform in Microsoft's history, and massive large enterprises are already using it at scale. What else is there to say, Ty?
Just one thing, all right, and it's a little bit of word of caution. Okay, so for business leaders out there, the breadth of the announcement that's come forward is absolutely immense. Really, really impressive. But you need to remember some features are still in early access or preview. So I think Database Hub, Fabric Remote MPC, MCP even, Runtime 2.0, and some of the mirroring sources. All right. Now, the general availability items, Fabric Data Agents, Graphing Fabric, OneLake Security, uh, wow, Oracle and SAP mirroring, maps in Fabric, they are production ready, ready to rock and roll. So the advice is start with GA features, uh, pilot, pilot the previews, and build your roadmap for success around the unified data vision. All right, do not boil the ocean, pick a use case, provide value, and then expand slowly.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff, Ty, and that's a really perfect segue into our call to action to everybody listening. So, if this has piqued any of your interest, this is what we're going to suggest. So, first, go ahead, read the blog article that I've linked in the description below. That's going to cover every announcement that we've gone in on this podcast, but it's going to go into it in a bit more detail on the Azure blog. You can either search for the Azure blog and find FabCon and SQLCon, or click on the link below. Next up, if you're already on Azure or Fabric, talk to your Microsoft account team about enabling some of these preview features if you want to go and do that proof of concept or trial, especially Database Hub early access, And I guess if you're not on Fabric yet, head over to fabric.microsoft.com to explore all those getting started options and all the trials. And then finally, Ty, the FabCon website, right? Fabricon.com. Again, I'll put a link in a description below. It's got heaps of those session recordings and all the resources for the event. So if you want to get stuck in, a little bit deeper dive, then go for it, because that's absolutely brilliant for those technical folks that want that quench of their thirst, right? So, yes, Ty, there we go. I think we're at the end, right?
Absolutely. I mean, mate, there's so much in this one today, just blown me away. But remember, if you enjoyed this deep dive for our subscribers, make sure you like and subscribe to AzBytes.
Absolutely. And thanks, everybody, for watching. We will see you on the next video.
And until next time, take care. And guess what? Stay data driven.